Hi there, it's Vanessa from Cove, and you're listening to the 85th edition of The Networker. This week's edition is about depth, not in a vague, inspirational sense, but in the specific, practical sense of what it actually takes to move a professional relationship past the surface and into something that lasts. The content this week covers that question from a lot of different angles, and the answers are more consistent than you might expect. So let's dive in. We open with a recap from the Cove blog of the May Joyful Connection Masterclass. 3 facilitators designed 3 activities around a single premise. Facts don't produce closeness. Ronan Casserly opened with a structured self-reflection exercise built around naming an Olympic dream, a big past win, a small recent win, and the why behind it all. Not to perform confidence, but to find evidence of it in your own history. Ashley Kersner followed with a skip the small talk activity, asking people how they're different from who they were 10 years ago, with the specific instruction to share internal states rather than facts. Feelings, not just events. And Dr. Julia Wiener closed with the invisible chapter exercise, asking participants to name one part of their story that shaped them but never made it onto a resume, and give it an unofficial job title. The chat filled with entries: Chief Recovery Officer, Chief Neurodivergent Understanding Officer, Chief Listening Officer. The session reinforced what Cove has been building toward for a while. Genuine connection isn't accidental, it's designed. Next, Inc. magazine brings a piece on what the creator economy's biggest winners actually have in common. It's not follower count. It's not content volume. It's trust. The operators who are accumulating real influence in 2026 are the ones building rooms, organizing dinners, facilitating introductions, and creating communities where relationships form. As AI floods every channel and audiences grow skeptical of traditional influencer marketing, the person who creates the conditions for genuine connection is more valuable than the one with the biggest platform. Moving on, Forbes picks up a related thread from the hiring side. 45% of HR professionals admit to regularly posting ghost jobs. AI has made employers more selective. Applicant tracking systems weren't designed to surface the best candidate, and most job seekers know it. In that environment, the professionals who land roles are the ones with relationships already in place. The piece offers 4 practical steps: reactivate warm connections, invite people for coffee without an agenda, optimize your LinkedIn so it tells a clear story, and tap your alumni network. None of it is new. All of it works when done consistently. The Business Times in Singapore runs a piece I really enjoyed this week. A journalist decided to test a networking expert's tips at a community library after a staged third-place event left her cold. The expert's advice for professional networking and his advice for making friends turned out to be exactly the same. Approach with curiosity. Be interested rather than interesting. End the conversation on a high. She left with a new contact, a book club invitation, and a conversation she didn't want to end. The conclusion she drew is the one worth holding on to. The best networkers, social or professional, aren't working the room with an agenda. They're building relationships first and treating any opportunities that follow as a happy side effect. Next, Quartz offers a long-form piece on 15 career mistakes that are easy to make in the first 5 years and genuinely hard to undo later. Not negotiating salary, neglecting to build a network before needing it, treating early roles as temporary, burning bridges quietly on the way out. The pattern running through almost all of them is the same: short-term comfort at the expense of long-term development. The costs compound quietly. The one specifically worth flagging for this audience: neglecting professional relationships in the first decade because the immediate work seems more important. That's the trade that looks fine at year 2 and looks very different at year 15. Fast Company covers research on solopreneurs, and there's a networking thread buried in it worth pulling out. With nearly 30 million non-employer businesses now contributing $1.7 trillion to the American economy, the ones that outlast and out-earn the competition share a few traits. They embed AI operationally rather than just using it for content. They build genuine relationships rather than relying on platform visibility. And they treat community as infrastructure. The solo operator who knows everyone in their space and is known by everyone in their space has built something no tool can replicate. We close the articles with a Forbes guide to 10 conferences worth attending in 2026 and 2027. The premise is one I agree with. As AI handles more of what used to require human collaboration, in-person events have become more valuable, not less. But most conferences are rooms, not communities. The ones on this list, from Baby Bathwater Institute to Web Summit to the Gathering Festival, are chosen for their ability to produce relationships that outlast the event. The common thread is curation over volume, intentional formats that make depth possible, and environments where the work is the conversation. Before we wrap up, let's turn to this week's recommendations. Our book of the week is Grit by Angela Duckworth. The argument is clean and well supported. The defining factor in outstanding achievement is not natural talent, but a combination of passion and long-term perseverance that Duckworth calls grit. She makes the case with West Point cadets, National Spelling Bee finalists, and interviews with high achievers across industries. The insight that stays with me is that effort counts twice, once in building skill and again in turning skill into results. The people who succeed are rarely the most talented. They're the ones who keep going when the talented ones stop. And our podcast of the week is Hidden Brain, specifically the episode called Who Are You Really? Political scientist Eric Oliver explores why we present differently with friends, coworkers, and family, and why that internal inconsistency so often feels like a failure of authenticity. His argument is that the contradiction isn't a problem to fix. It's a feature of human identity to understand. Making peace with who you are in different contexts changes the quality of every relationship you build in each of them. It's 1 hour and 37 minutes, and it's one of the more thought-provoking listens we've featured. That's all for the 85th edition of The Networker. The thread this week is depth. Not the depth that comes from time or proximity alone, but the kind that comes from showing up with genuine curiosity, sharing something real, and staying consistent long enough for trust to form. The masterclass, the third place experiment, the creator economy piece, the conference guide, they're all pointing at the same thing. The relationships that matter are the ones where both people felt something real. Everything else is just a contact in a list. Until next time, stay connected, stay deliberate, and remember, your network isn't defined by how many people you reach. It's defined by how intentionally you build. And don't forget, the full edition of The Networker is waiting for you in your inbox. I'll see you next time.